I was born into a world that was radically different from that of my grandparents. On my mother's side, my grandparents are Holocaust survivors, founders of Kibbutz Netzer Sireni, originally known as Kibbutz Buchenwald, because it was founded by those who came out of Camp Buchenwald. They emerged from the ashes to rebuild their lives and to build this country. On my father's side, my grandparents are second and third generation Americans, members of the greatest generation. My grandfather fought in Okinawa and Iwo Jima in World War II, and they built their lives and became community leaders and successful in all aspects of American life. Unlike my grandparents, I was born into a world with a sovereign Jewish state and a free and privileged Jewish minority in many parts of the globe. This reality, an independent Jewish state and a free and advantaged Jewish minority in places around the world, has provided me with a sense of security, self-confidence, and comfort in my own skin as a Jew and an Israeli that is unimaginable to people of my grandparents' generation. With a radically new world comes a radically new set of responsibilities. There's the responsibility to ask new questions that previous generations did not have the luxury of asking. Questions like, what is the responsibility of a privileged Jewish minority in places around the world to other minority populations not as privileged? Or, what is the responsibility of a Jewish majority to minority populations, Jewish and non-Jewish, living within its midst in the modern state of Israel? Or, what is the responsibility of an independent Jewish state, the state of Israel, to other states on the world stage? Along with asking these questions comes the responsibility to discuss Tikkun Olam with a degree of integrity, care, and precision. And from that responsibility, I would actually like to challenge two underlying assumptions that I believe are implicit in the title and the description of this session, Tikkun Olam, a passing trend, or a new Judaism. Assumption number one, lots of people are doing it. And assumption number two, Tikkun Olam is fundamentally and always a good thing. Listening to the speeches earlier today from President Bill Clinton to President Shimon Peres, listening last night to President Obama's address to Shimon Peres on behalf of his birthday, you cannot help but be astounded by the way that Tikkun Olam has entered into the lexicon and the discourse, popular and Jewish alike. And yet, we still have a long way to go in terms of translating the interests and excitement in this field into concrete action. A recent study of North American young Jews ages 18 to 35 showed that the vast majority are involved in volunteer work, but mostly in an episodic or intermittent way. Very few are involved in an ongoing basis. A recent study of Israeli society indicates that while there is a thriving civil society here in Israel, and Israel has one of the highest per capita nonprofits in the Western world, less than 1% of Israeli citizens give to causes abroad, Jewish and non-Jewish alike. And when it comes to those who consciously and deliberately connect their volunteer work and their giving to their Jewish identity, inspired by Jewish values, texts, history, and tradition, the numbers are even fewer. Only 10% of young Jews in North America strongly connect their volunteer work with their Jewish identities. Barely 3,000 young Jews worldwide have chosen to take part in immersive Jewish service learning programs ranging anywhere from a week to a year, devoting themselves full-time to meaningful service and Jewish learning. That number is less than the number of people at this conference. So before we self-congratulate, We should capitalize upon the momentum, the interest, the popularity of Tikkun Olam, and transfer it into concrete action. In terms of the second assumption underlying this panel, the assumption that Tikkun Olam is fundamentally and always a good thing. Tikkun Olam, like anything that is potent, has the ability to be misused and to do more harm than good. When Jewish organizations look exclusively at young volunteers and not the needs of local communities, we run the risk of hurting those we seek to help. When we co-opt or cherry-pick Jewish sources from our rich tradition about the pursuit of justice in a superficial or self-serving manner, we run the risk of stripping Tikkun Olam of its deep meaning. And when Tikkun Olam is used to serve far-flung communities around the globe, but allows us to ignore the very real suffering of people in our own communities, in our own backyards, we run the risk that Tikkun Olam serves as a distraction as opposed to an inspiration and a lifelong commitment. We live in an exciting time in which there is an increased interest in Tikkun Olam and the unique ability to act on the world stage in ways that my grandparents never dreamed of. As Rabbi Tarfon, the first century Jewish sage who is buried in the Galilee, said, "Lo alecha melacha ligmor, velo ata ben chorin libater mimena." You are not responsible for fixing the entire world, but you are not free from trying. Thank you very much.